Hey hon, have you finished watching the Candela Obscura actual play yet?
Sure did. It was fantastic. What's Obscure Candle? Is it a toy?
Well, kind of.
I want to play! Candela Obscura is Critical Role's new tabletop RPG system. It features rules from the Illuminated World's D6 dice pool system. That means you only use D6s, like Warhammer or Blades in the Dark. Those look like the pieces of meat you put in our food. If we look at the character sheet, we see 3 sections on the left: nerve, cunning, and intuition. These are categories called drives that the various actions of the game can fall into. Inside each drive, there are 3 actions that are the core engine behind the game. Nerve has the actions move, strike, and control. Cunning has the actions sway, read, and hide. Intuition has the actions survey, focus, and sense. These actions move the game's story forward and should be used when the results of a player's decision isn't necessarily clear. Basic actions, such as walking down a street, climbing a ladder, and opening a door, shouldn't require these rolls.
Does that mean pooping requires these rolls?
No, it doesn't. What about catching a ball? Yes, that would require a roll. A filled circle means that you are proficient in that skill. When you use that skill in the game, you roll a number of dice equal to the number of filled circles you have on your sheet. If your circles are empty, but you still want to roll that skill, you roll 2 dice and take the lower of the roll.
Like disadvantage in D&D.
Exactly. When you roll your dice, 4 things can happen. On a roll of 1 to 3, your roll is a fail. You don't accomplish what you want, and there are consequences. On a roll of 4 or 5, you get a mixed success. You succeed at what you want, but it comes at a cost. If you roll a 6, the roll is a full success, and you don't receive any major unintended consequences. On multiple 6s, the roll is a critical success. You can get what you want and a little bit more. It is important to note that you cannot get a critical success if you have 0 proficiency in a skill and roll the 2 die and have to take the lower. As an example, you're looking for a mark that someone left behind. You have 1 point of proficiency in survey, so you can roll 1 die. You roll a 5, so you find the mark and try to leave your own, but you realize you don't have the means to do so.
Ha, Kenevi's dehydrated.
You know I don't like dog park water. It is dirty.
That's because you pee on the fountain.
Shut up.
Is there any way to roll more dice?
Absolutely. Drive is a resource denoted by the exclamation mark looking things next to the action categories. The long marks indicate how many drive points you currently have, and the dots represent the maximum number of drive points you can have in that specific category. If you want to, you can use drive points to add extra dice to your dice pool. You can add as many drive points as you currently have to the pool, up to a maximum of 6. Other players can also add one of their drives to your action and give you another dice, but they can only give you 1.
What if I want more car rides? I mean, drives.
That is where gilded action comes in. If the diamond next to the action is filled in, that means that is gilded. You replace one of your standard die with a gilded die anytime you roll with that skill. If you choose to use the result of the gilded die, you regain 1 drive point. That means you may not always want to pick the best result if it means you get some of your drive back. So let's say on your survey, you added a drive to give yourself an extra roll. Your gilded die rolled a 5, and the standard die rolled a 6. You choose the 5 to regain the drive you spent and accept the consequences of not having a full success.
So drives can be replenished by the power of teamwork.
Like water bowls.
Or by going to a gas station.
We're not going on a car ride.
But they keep saying the word drive.
You can interpret gilded actions as the power of teamwork. There's also a mechanic called resistances. Resistances let you give the middle finger to a consequence that you don't like and try another roll to get a different outcome. So let's say you have 1 point in strike and you use 2 drive points from nerve. You roll 3 dice and you end up with a 3, a 2, and a 2. You tell the dice, you, and roll a resistance die and get a 4. So instead of failing, you get a mixed success. Try and say that 5 times fast. You have 1 resistance per 3 maximum drive points. That means you could have 0 drive points left and still have a resistance as long as your maximum drive points are above 3. When rolling resistance, you re-roll the number of die equal to your proficiency. So in the previous example, note that you rolled only 1 die instead of 3. That's because your proficiency in strike was 1. If your proficiency is 0, you roll 2 dice and take the lower result. You must accept the result of the resistance roll unless you use yet another resistance to roll again. In the center of the character sheet, you have a role and a specialty, which translates to class and subclass respectively. There are 5 roles: face, muscle, scholar, slink, and weird. Each role has 2 specialties. Face has journalist and magician. Muscle has explorer and soldier. Scholar has doctor and professor. Slink has criminal and detective. And weird has medium and occultist. As of this playtest, only the slink criminal, scholar professor, face magician, weird occultist, and muscle explorer are available. On the right side of the character sheet are marks. Marks are damage points, separated into 3 categories: body, brain, and bleed. Body is pretty self-explanatory. Brain represents mental strain or stress, and bleed represents harm caused by magic.
What's a Brian? Something only I have.
When you get 3 marks, you obtain a scar. Scars permanently affect your character. You remove a proficiency point from one action and add it to another to show how you've changed. Scars can be burnt flesh, a hero complex, vampire teeth, etc. Be creative. If you have 3 scars and gain a 4th one, you die. So be sure to tend to your marks and scars.
Oh no, I don't want to die.
How do we remove markers?
That is where your circle comes in. In between assignments, you can use circle abilities, called Candela Obscura Resources, to perform various actions. The actions are Stitch, Refresh, and Train. Stitch heals all of one player's marks. Refresh fills all of one player's drives and resistances. And Train allows you to use 1 bonus die on any roll in the next session. You can use each resource a number of times equal to the number of people in your circle plus 1. In your case, it'd be 4 times. As you complete assignments, you can get Illumination Points. Think of Illumination Points as Circle XP. The more Illumination Points you acquire during an assignment, the faster your circle and characters progress with their abilities. Once an Illumination Circle is filled, you choose a new circle ability and all characters can choose character advancement options. You also refill your uses of Stitch, Refresh, and Train. When you get to the bold circles on the Illumination advancement, there may be mechanical benefits depending on what the circle chose as abilities. You get Illumination Points by answering yes to any illumination question on the circle sheet, or performing illumination keys, which are at the bottom of each character sheet. Each character has different keys. If you want to advance your circle, you will want to perform as many of these keys as possible per assignment. It's important to note that these keys are not necessarily combat related, they're more related to how your character is going to roleplay. So knowing all of that, what would y'all like to name your circle?
Tree rats. Balls.
The screwed pooches.